As the global financial collapse begins to accelerate worldwide, there are a great many people who are reopening their Bibles and reading this scripture from Luke, sell your cloak and buy a sword. And what this really is, it's about decision making. It's about what can I afford to do without and what's the most important thing. It's about priorities. And there are a great many people out there who said, last thing I would ever sell would be my ballistic weapon. Well, we're going to put that to the test today because I'm going to ask this question again later on in the video in an entirely different context and see what the answer might be. Now, just to be clear, I'm not counseling anyone to get rid of their firearms if they have any other choice. But it's those other choices that I think people are faced with that they haven't thought about, at least not in reality. Albert Einstein said that an empty stomach is not a good political advisor. Now you're probably saying, well, I'd go hungry, or I'd skip meals, or I'd fast before I'd get rid of any of my ballistic weapons. I'm going to need those. Well, that's good advice for you. But what about some others? Many have said, you know what? If we would just have gotten rid of the IRS, those thugs and those criminals, way back in the 80s and 90s when people wanted to, we wouldn't have this problem. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll be very honest with you. Anybody who runs on the platform of abolishing the IRS, like the governor of Florida, I'm going to be on board for, just based on that one policy plank alone. Now, before we get into the meat of today's video, I just wanted to let everyone know that over at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel, where it's only $1 a month, that's it, $1, we are going to, on the 22nd of August, be drawing names out of a hat for the last two Florida Monkey coffee mugs in existence. These are the last two. I used to be able to sell them on a little bar that was below the videos, but way back when the censorship started in 2020 and 2021, I was selling things that kind of went against the narrative, so they redacted my ability to do that. So this is all that's left, just these two coffee mugs. If you'd like to join us at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel, I'll tell you, that $1 a month doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a huge deal to me. It is a massive deal to me. Even less if you sign up for an entire year, where it comes out to only 90 cents a month. Fully refundable, first 90 days, no questions asked. Partnering with Vimeo, we can take the gloves off, and we can show things, talk about things we can't talk about anywhere else. There's a $5 level. There's a handful of videos over there, a very recent one that we did for those folks that reveals a very personal story about me. And it might give you some insight into where I come from and why I see the world through the prism that I do. It's about decision making. It's about, some said, separating the wheat from the chaff. That's really what's going on. And it's not just me. It's everywhere in the country right now. What to do when you can't pay your bills? Cover the four walls first. This is from Dave Ramsey. There are folks now that are even in the position, what can I do just to keep the four walls? The four walls. Keep some semblance of groceries in the fridge. The lights on. The car running. What can I do? Now, I'm sure a lot of you, most of my audience is also an audience of the Patriot Nurse. She's been putting out a ton of content lately. After having taken a break, I think she was ill for a while, but now she's back with a vengeance. And she's been talking about this, about situations that are going around right around her there in Tennessee. There was this image that she shared. Dear neighbor, as you know, ownership of Tanglewood Apartments has recently been acquired by Rand Property Management. They are raising rents from somewhere around $850 to $950 a month, all the way up to $1,500 or $1,600, no notice. Other than, I guess, this piece of paper. Now that's life-changing stuff. That is life-changing stuff, and it's, sell your cloak to buy a sword. What would you sell to keep your sword? You see, that's really where we're at right now. The big three, yellow, CF, and roadway. If you had told me years ago that there would, by 2023, yellow freight, consolidated freight, and roadway would all be gone, I wouldn't have believed you. They're the big three. They're gone. Yellow was the last one. CF and roadway had merged, and then they shut down. But this is frightening. CVS, 5,000 employees gone. 2023, 194,000 employees just in 2023. Oh, I mean, it's just all over the place. Now, here's the second level on this. What's the IRS going to think about this? Maybe people are like, why did you mention the IRS? Well, you see, the IRS's income is based on people being employed. Is it not? Can't get blood out of a turnip, can you? People aren't working. You can't, no income, ergo no income tax. That's why you're going to see a lot more people talking about, and it was actually congressional Republicans, that in January, who remembers Kevin McCarthy, the whole speaker argument about we're going to put together an amendment to abolish the IRS and then do this fair tax thing where they just institute a national sales tax and abolish the IRS. Now, there's a lot of people out like, I'm all for that. That'd be great. Where all taxes would then be paid automatically, electronically, of course, at the checkout of whatever you were buying, whether it's a grocery store, or gas station, or anywhere else. That's where you would be paying it. Because here's what they know. Here's what they know. All of these people, they're not just dissolving into thin air. These people are somehow getting money and they are somehow buying things. And they're going to try to get them, instead of getting them on April 15th of every year, they're going to get them wherever where they live, so to speak. Now, mind-boggling to me, we covered this in another video, that this was no accident, that they let these guys come forward. Special agents, stunning and brave. Conservatives, if you would have said 20 years ago that conservatives would have been lauding the testimony of two life-ruining, unconstitutional, door-kicking thugs on working for the federal government, I would have said you're nuts. I would say there would be no so much more things as conservatives. That's exactly what happened. Especially with the guy on the right with his trans flag tie and his rainbow candy gel little girl wristband. Everybody's just conservatives. Do you think this was an accident? 9 states without an income tax. Florida is one of them. We do have a corporate income tax, however, because we have this strange notion that a corporation is not a person. But some might say, wait a minute, what about all those little farmers markets where people are trying to sell stuff? Are they going to be, if they're taking PayPal or if they've got little point of sale, is there going to be a 30% knock on all the? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's going to be the case. Because if you're caught transacting without paying your 30%, you're going to be seen as non-patriotic. You see, a lot of people say the 16th Amendment was unconstitutional and we should go back to the way things were. Here's the part where I want you to pay attention. Go back to the way things were before the 16th Amendment. That is the amendment, of course, that allows the government to collect income taxes. Really? How do you think they collected taxes before? You see, they went around. Who remembers who the sheriff of Nottingham was? Robin Hood. Taking from the government and giving it back to people. See, people have dreamed of these utopian societies on other planets where free of government, far, far away, where it's just a capitalist paradise. And everybody just transacts and nobody asks where the money comes from. You see, these cashless payments benefit merchants. They give them kickbacks. See, these merchants are going to charge you X amount of money and say, well, 30% of that, is going to be, the tax I have to charge. It's, doesn't come to me. Well, they do. It does, in added security, in more clients, increased efficiency, competitive advantage. People are like, I want to live off cash. I want to live off cash. Well, guess what? Here's the part that's going to bother a lot of you. What cloak exactly would you sell before you would sell your gun? Or let me put it a better way. If you had a relative, a friend, somebody who said, I have a choice, sell my cloak, so to speak, or sell my gun. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, that'll be. Oh, make no mistake, it's already happening. It is already happening. Go back and watch the series Colony, and watch it again slowly this time, when you see people in desperate situations and what desperate people are willing to do. What would you counsel? And this honest question, I'm not trolling here, because there is no right answer, and this is the part that I'm trying to illuminate. There is no right answer when it comes to survival, other than what keeps the four walls the four walls. What keeps the lights on? What keeps the bills paid? What keeps you sleeping in your own bed that night? Or your family sleeping in their own beds that night? See, these are the discussions nobody wants to have. Because in a survival situation, there's no such thing as morality. I know a lot of people will take issue with me saying that, but that's the case. In a survival situation, the only morality is the morality of survival. You see, that's the reality. Now, who knows this side of the Bible? Husbands, be a covering to your wife. Wives, be a covering to your husbands. That guards, protects, forgives, comforts, and leads. Forgives, and leads with love. Now, as promised, now think of this idea of selling that cloak to buy a sword. Selling that covering to buy a sword. Or keep the sword you already have. I'm sure a lot of people are scratching their heads now. That isn't what that means. Well, that's cognitive dissonance. Because at that time, in Bible times, not very many people owned swords. Swords were expensive. Swords were rare. Swords were the tool of a soldier. Cloaks, however, were daily use items. They were valuable in so many ways, especially in this part of the world. They were seen as an absolute survival item. To protect you from the weather, to keep you from getting sick. Believe it or not, a lot of people who end up dying of exposure it's not that they're cold, it's that their immune systems collapse from being cold all the time or being exposed all the time. This would have been seen as absolutely insane survival advice back then. Go look at your shows. Bear Grylls, Survivor Man. In a survival situation, something to keep you warm versus something to defend yourself. You see, you can always run. You can always run, but a sword isn't going to keep you healthy. It's not going to keep you warm. It might keep you alive in a certain situation. Like I said, everybody entitled to their own opinion. Pray out and seek your own salvation, as they say. It's a question I would like to see a lot of people answer down in the comment section. What cloaks would you be willing to sell? All of them? So, I will leave it there. Thank you. God bless all of you who have joined us at the Patreon channel at any level, no matter what. Like I said, today's the 1st. 21 days from now, we're going to be doing the drawing and giving away the coffee mugs. So if that's something that you're interested in, having a collector's item like this, who knows what a day's going to bring. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.